In the quiet silvery glow of Moonvale Forest, the fairies were wide awake. The night breeze carried the scent of blooming starflowers, and the moon hung like a glowing lantern in the sky. It was the perfect night for something truly special. "Let's have a tea party," chirped Lumina, the brightest and most curious fairy of them all. Her wings shimmered like drops of dew as she clapped her tiny hands in excitement. "A tea party? At midnight?" asked Pip, a chubby little fairy with cheeks as round as berries. "What if the moon falls asleep before we're done?" Lumina giggled. "Then we'll just have to wake her up with our laughter." Soon, all the fairies of Moonvale fluttered about, preparing for the midnight tea party, a magical event no human had ever seen. The fairies didn't need wood or nails to make their table. With a wave of her wand, Luna, the fairy of starlight, created a long shimmering table made entirely of moonbeams. It glowed softly, and when the fairies touched it, it hummed like a gentle song. Tulip, the fairy baker, brought her famous moonberry cakes, soft little treats that sparkled with sugar crystals, and Pip carried a teapot carved from a seashell, filled with freshly brewed dream leaf tea, which changed colour with every stir. The whole meadow glowed with magic and laughter. But then, just as Luna poured the first cup of tea, a faint giggle echoed from the sugar bowl. "Did you hear that?" Pip asked, looking around nervously. The sugar bowl wobbled, then hiccuped loudly, sending tiny puffs of stardust flying into the air. The glitter landed all over the fairies' wings, making them shimmer brighter than ever. Lumina gasped, "Oh no, I think the sugar's too enchanted." Before anyone could react, the spoons began to dance. They clinked their handles together like little musicians, tapping the teacups and spinning in circles. The teapot began to whistle and suddenly lifted into the air. It poured tea while flying upside down, splashing glowing tea everywhere. The fairies squealed, some in delight, some in panic. Pip tried to catch the teapot, but slipped on a puddle of moonberry jam, landing with a soft plop. Lumina, laughing so hard she could barely hover, called out, "Stop the spoons before they steal the cups." But the spoons didn't listen. They were too busy doing a silly dance. As the fairies tried to calm the chaos, the stars above peeked down, curious about the noise and laughter. They twinkled brighter and brighter until, pop! One tiny star, named Twink, couldn't resist joining the fun. He floated down and landed right in the sugar bowl. "Excuse me," he said politely. "I heard music and laughter. May I dance too?" The fairies gasped in surprise, but quickly smiled and nodded. Twink began to twirl around the table, leaving trails of glittering light behind him. His glow reflected in every teacup, turning the party into a scene of living starlight. The chaos had become pure joy. Lumina clapped her hands. "Now this is a real midnight party," she laughed. The fairies joined hands and began to dance in circles, while the spoons kept the rhythm. Everything was fun and bright, until the flying teapot soared too high and bumped into the glowing moonbeam chandelier. It flipped upside down, and tea poured all over Luna's silver hair. "Ick! I'm soaked," Luna cried, shaking her sparkling curls. "Even my magic is dripping." Everyone stopped for a moment, then burst into laughter. The teapot floated down, whistling softly, as if it were saying, "Sorry." Lumina patted it kindly. "It's all right," she said. "You just got carried away." The fairies decided to fix everything together. Pip caught the runaway spoons, and Tulip sang a gentle lullaby to calm the giggling sugar bowl. Luna waved her wand to dry up the spilled tea, and Twink whispered something to the moon, who smiled in return. Suddenly, a soft silver light poured down, and where the tea had spilled, tiny glowing flowers began to bloom. The sugar crystals, scattered across the grass, turned into sparkly petals, and even the tired spoons settled in a perfect heart shape on the table. "It's beautiful," Tulip whispered. Lumina's eyes shone. "See?" she said. "Even when magic goes wrong, it can still make something wonderful." The fairies laughed and began to dance again under the moonlight, twirling among the glowing flowers. Their laughter filled the forest, and the moon herself seemed to shine brighter just to watch them. When dawn finally peeked over the horizon, the party came to an end. The fairies were tired but happy. The table of moonlight faded softly, leaving behind a field of glittering petals that looked like a dream. Lumina smiled at her friends. "We tried to make everything perfect," she said. "But maybe the best moments aren't perfect at all." Pip nodded, licking the last bit of moonberry icing off his fingers. "Perfection is boring," he said. "I like my tea with a little chaos." Everyone burst into laughter once more. As the sun rose, Twink the star floated back to the sky, waving goodbye. The fairies watched him go, knowing he would always remember the night he danced with them. From that day on, every full moon, the fairies of Moonvale gathered for another perfectly imperfect tea party, a legend that reminds us that even chaos can be beautiful when shared with friends. Thank you so much for joining our midnight adventure. If you loved this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more magical tales. See you next time.